President Donald Trump has been racking up a string of jaw-dropping victories at the U.S. Supreme Court, cementing his agenda with a sledgehammer of judicial might that's got the dying liberal establishment reeling.
Trump has now ended the legal status for Haitians, has ended the parole program that also affects enormous numbers of people.
The court's conservative majority has been handing the administration wins that are reshaping the balance of power and dismantling the left's legal roadblocks.
A little over $40 billion was supplied in support through the Loan Program Office in its 15 years of existence, a little over $40 billion, and then almost $100 billion in the 76 days after they lost the election and before President Trump's inauguration. Like, if those were great ideas that were benefit to the America, why didn't they do it in the 2.5 years after the Inflation Reduction Act was passed? Why did they wait till they lost the election?
From immigration to federal workforce cuts to dismantling Marxist subversion tactics, these rulings are a full-throttle endorsement of Trump's bold executive moves, proving he's rewriting the rulebook. One of the biggest wins came on June 27th, 2025, when the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision penned by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, curbed the ability of the lower court's judges to slap nationwide injunctions on Trump's policies, specifically his executive order to end automatic birthright citizenship. This ruling was a seismic blow to the Soros-fueled left's favorite tactic of judge shopping to stall Trump's agenda. And just to put things in perspective, for the entire 20th century, there were only 27 injunctions by lower courts, and during President Trump's administration, over 100, with 21 states backing the plan. Trump himself called it a monumental victory for the Constitution, and he's not wrong. This is a middle finger to activist judges trying to handcuff the executive branch. The court hadn't stopped there. The judges, in a 5-4 split, allowed the administration to keep deporting alleged Venezuelan gang members under the Alien Enemies Act, though with a caveat that detainees must get notice and a chance to contest their removal. This was a gut punch to the ACLU and other groups trying to block Trump's use of a wartime law to secure the border. The court also greenlit deportations to third countries, like sending migrants to South Sudan, and ended temporary legal protections for hundreds of thousands of migrants on humanitarian grounds. The Supreme Court also ruled that Trump can deport the 500,000 plus Haitians that were granted continued temporary protective status under Joe Biden. Beyond immigration, the court upheld his ban on transgender troops in the military, ruled in favor of religious families opting out of lessons about LGBTQ in schools, and let him fire 2 Democratic members of federal labor boards, and backed his Department of Government Efficiency in 2 disputes. The justices also gave a nod to his cuts in foreign aid payments. These decisions, many coming through the court's shadow docket for emergency rulings, show a judiciary that's done playing nice with the left's obstructionist playbook. And just to add to those wins, after a landmark 4-3 decision on December 22nd, 2023, the Wisconsin Supreme Court struck down the state's Republican-drawn legislative maps, and after a massive mega-donor effort to give Susan Crawford a deciding seat on the court in order to move the gerrymandering towards the Democratic playbook, the liberal Wisconsin Supreme Court declined to redraw the congressional map, and now Democrats have been denied their key pre-2026 power grab. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
I'm in a deep state toe-to-toe legal.
Welcome to the show. The live broadcast, Friday Night Live, and we're here. It's July 11th, 2025, and man, we got a lot going on, man. There is a lot going on, like always. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe to the channel, Rumble, Getter. We're on YouTube under Inspector Web. We're going to give it one more shot, new channel, and we're also on Rumble, Getter, and X at Inspector Web. We appreciate your support. So what are we getting into tonight? Looks like Brennan and Comey have been, they've issued a the administration has issued a steps towards indictments for those two for the Russia hoax. We've got that thing coming up for you tonight. We got some clips around that. We got, Epstein Files, a lot of stuff. We got where Cash Patel. Well, first of all, Bongino has been off this week. He's took a leave of absence after the Epstein file cover up, and he's been off for a few days. I know for sure Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, and he hasn't been back to the office. And he's talking about resigning if Bondi doesn't, get fired or resign. And, this whole thing with Bondi's because of Susie Wiles, we know this. We know that she is deep stater. We know that she was the information that we have, and we're going to get into this later, but we know that she was the main advisor to Netanyahu's, political campaign. We know that. We also know that she's got like a force field between President Trump and anybody that wants to communicate with Mr. Trump, President Trump. And she's running the show. And that's why there's a lot of different things that you don't know, that he doesn't know about, that aren't getting to him because she keeps a big wall up between everybody. And if you notice, she's always sitting right next to him. And I didn't see her today when he was in Texas, but, a lot of different things, like John Rich was talking about how he told Trump about the jab stuff and he literally acted like he knew nothing about it. So there's hundreds of people around him, 50 or so daily, and he had no idea about the damage about that stuff. You know what I mean? So we're going to be careful because of YouTube. So we're going to just say the jabs, right? Anyway, but so we got that. We got a bunch of stuff around that we're going to cover tonight, and just set it right there, whatever. Biden White House doctor comes out and says that he pleads the fifth to not incriminate himself around Joe Biden, or President. I guess you're going to call him. Some of you want to call him President Biden's, incompetency around his presidency, and the doctor said that he was sharper than a tack. We have that tonight. We have a bunch of other stuff. We have General Flynn talking about the deep state is out to get us all and doing everything that they can to take Trump out at the knees. And we've seen that with the different things like the Iran thing, the Ukraine, the Israel and or Iran, and all this stuff that's going on. It all is around the deep state and their attempt to take us out. And, Trump has said it a lot of times, and, and a lot of other people like Alex Jones have said it, that they're coming after us, but they're in the way. And I believe that more and more I pay attention to all the stuff that's going on. You really see what's going on with Susie Wiles being in the way, and nobody can talk to Trump about anything. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is that wants to get a message to Trump. They got to go through Susie Wiles. She's running the show, and that makes it very difficult for anybody to be able to, communicate with Trump. And that's why a lot of these things that are going on, like the Epstein Files, that I'm going to say that maybe Trump has been blocked on this and doesn't know. But we're going to get into what we see, which is that Trump is, brushed this off or put it under the rug, or not wanting to talk about the Epstein Files. And we know this is the number one thing. It's been trending on Twitter for 5 days, and it's still going on. So anyway, so we got a bunch of more stuff besides that. What we're going to do is I want to get this Epstein stuff right out of the way right now, because it's a mouthful. And so we're going to start with I showed you the You want to get in? You can get in. I'll get you a camera if you want to get in. Okay. Next week. Okay. All right. So let me see. We're going to start with a little bit different here because there's so much controversy going on right now about Trump and what Trump is doing wrong and what Trump is doing right. And you know, I got to be honest. Yes. Did I vote for Trump 3 times? Yes, I did. Do I think that Trump's done a ton of stuff? Awesome, wonderful, great things? Yes. Do I think that he's made some missteps along the way? Yes. I think that the Iran debacle should have never happened. This Epstein file thing should have been released. And regardless of which rich ass person that's going to get damaged because of the Epstein's client list or whatever, you black book, whatever you want to call it, I think Trump should have released it regardless of who it's going to harm, because we know he's not in it. Because if Trump was in it after all these years, 9 years now, they would have that would have came out. If there was any minute thing about Trump being in there, it would have came out. So I'm pretty confident. I can't say 100%, but I can say 99.5% that Trump's not in there. That would be a really deep fake to be able to hide that for that long, all these years, when that's all the liberal media does is look for dirt on Trump. So I would be willing, I probably would give it a 99.5, you know, so there's about a half a tenth of possibility that there's something incriminating in there. But I would definitely say that I think, you know, for the Trump supporter, the MAGA patriot, that it's not real. Even the things that Elon Musk has said and all that stuff is all fraudulent bullshit in an attempt to slander Trump. We know this. So anyway, back to the point. I have this Greg Reese report, and you know, Greg Reese just calls balls and strikes. He calls it as he sees it. And this is the final act of Jeffrey Epstein. And it's, we're going to start right there. And then we have a bunch of stuff around this, but I want to start with the negativity first, get it out of the way. And then we'll get back to the positive things and the negative things around this whole Epstein Files thing, along with Bongino coming out and saying, giving an ultimatum that Bondi steps down or resigns or he's leaving. And then it was followed up by Kash Patel said, if Bongino leaves, so do I. So we might not have FBI directors by Monday at all. So it sounds like Deep State's got their nuts in a ringer, and Bongino's integrity is too big for him to not tell the truth. So it sounds like that's going on. But let's start right here, and we'll start with the Greg Reese report. And I have we're going to cover a bunch of stuff tonight. I hope you have your popcorn. It's going to get pretty spicy. A lot of people talking massive shit about Trump. And on some of it, I absolutely agree. And on other things, I don't. But we're just going to get into it tonight. And, let's get into it. Subscribe to the channel. We're a new channel. We need your support. Thank you. Okay, here we go.
Donald Trump has been friends with Jeffrey Epstein for years. In 2002, he told New York Magazine that he's, quote, known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life. Close quote. Jeffrey Epstein claimed he introduced Donald Trump to Melania. Epstein is known for grooming beautiful women for powerful men. On July 6, 2019, Epstein was arrested. 2 weeks later, he was murdered in his jail cell, all during President Trump's first term. Shortly after Trump began his second term, political agents and useful idiots posed for the cameras with DOJ binders, as if justice was coming, and nothing followed. Until this week, when we were told that the DOJ and the FBI concluded that Epstein had no client list and died by suicide. While this isn't fooling the awakening masses, political agents and useful idiots began doing their best to defend Trump and steer everyone towards immigration, where the solution will obviously be the digital ID for every U.S. citizen. The overwhelming majority of U.S. government representatives are the recipients of hundreds of millions of dollars paid out by AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were clearly part of a sexual blackmail operation run by the Mossad and the CIA to further own the American government. This is why our government officials are all on board with the genocide being committed by the U.S. and Israel.
Do you think that there can be a two-state solution that creates an independent?
I don't know. I asked you that question. You have the greatest man in the world to answer that age-old question. Two states. Go ahead. You give him your honest answer.
I think Palestinians should have all the powers to govern themselves, but none of the powers should threaten us. That means that certain powers, like overall security, will always remain in our hands. Now, that is a fact. And no one in Israel will agree to anything else because we don't commit suicide. We want life, we cherish life for ourselves, for our neighbors. And I think we can work out a peace between us and the entire Middle East with President Trump's leadership. And by working together, I think we can establish a very, very broad peace that will include all our neighbors.
When Pam Bondi was asked about all this, Trump couldn't help but interrupt her and show frustration that anyone was concerned about his old friend of 15 years.
One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for an American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa. He allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the minute?
Yeah, sure.
Could I just interrupt for a second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
And Pam Bondi suggested that the child porn they have in evidence was Epstein's personal collection that he downloaded from the internet and nothing at all to do with blackmail.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that.
Greg Reese reporting.
We know that Pam Bondi is being played like a fiddle or a puppet or whatever through Susie Wiles. We know this, okay? Now, just to be clear, we're doing realism here. We're doing, politics, yes, but we're not going to push out no propaganda. We're going to give it to you straight the way we see it. I think this is one of the worst things that Trump has done. And, in his time in politics, I really believe that this was really, really bad. And I don't know if it's because he doesn't know the truth, because, they hide everything from him, just like his last administration, when all the things that were happening and he was being lied to. And we know that is a thing. So let's hope and pray that he just doesn't know, what's going on. I have to check my sound because I want to make sure that that my sound is coming through here. Just give me a second. I just want to make sure that you can hear my mic. Okay, we're good. Okay. I just want to make sure because, I'd hate to do this and not be able to hear the sound. I could hear the videos, but I just want to make sure that we're good. Okay, and we're good. So, apologize for the little distraction there. Because this is the thing. So, it might not mean something to like a Stephen A. Smith or one of those characters that are starting to come towards the right because they see how populism has become so, exciting and it's common sense and all that stuff. I get it. And we're going to play a clip here in a minute. Like I said, we have a bunch of stuff around Epstein and all that stuff, but for someone like me or possibly you, we, live, breathe, and eat this stuff, and we do all the research to find out the truth about all this stuff, and we just know, we know that Epstein's Island was a, child trafficking, pedophile, what's the word I'm looking for? Blackmail operation. We know this. We know that this is exactly what was going on there. We know this, and how Trump doesn't know that it really shocks me. But again, maybe I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but what it looks like right now is that he just doesn't want it to come out because he's afraid of who's going to get hurt. That Kevin O'Leary video that came out yesterday or the day before about Kevin O'Leary had a conversation with Trump during St. Patrick's Day talking about it, and he's President Trump was concerned about it and harming people that might have went to the island but weren't pedophiles or whatever. And, just put the shit out. Just put it all out and let the, the public, let the people figure it out. This is what should be done right now. I mean, you got your, your assistant director of the FBI, I think that's what you call Bongino, resigning because he can't handle the fact that he knows for a fact that this is all bullshit, and Bondi probably doesn't. Pam Bondi probably doesn't even know that she's going to be the fall girl, and that's the truth. So anyway, like I said, we're gonna go in a direction here tonight, and then we're gonna jump back into this, but because I have a bunch of stuff about Epstein we're going to get into tonight. And I think it's very, very important that we cover all of this so you have all the different angles that's going on with it. So there's no oh, well, I'm still not clear on, the truth about what's happening or whatever. So we're just going to get into it. We're going to cover it all. And we're going to get down to the truth about all this stuff. I'm looking for a clip that doesn't look like it's in the right spot. It should be right here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, let's just get into this. I'm going to do, we're going to do these clips simultaneously here. Tom Fitton talking about how he has filed a lawsuit against the DOJ to get the Epstein files, and how they have not responded to him, which is against the law. And then also Anna Paulina Luna talking about calling for a special counsel to look at the Epstein files. We're going to play these right now. Hold on.
So Judicial Watch just sued for the Epstein files. We want the client list. We want the documents the Justice Department and the FBI have about this scandal. We've been getting stonewalling. So despite the release of some records, it looks like other records haven't been released yet. Indeed, they haven't responded to our basic FOIA requests for this information. That's why we're in federal court now. The best way to understand what records are available, which records are being held secret, and where did they look for the records is to be in court. And that's where Judicial Watch is. And that's what we specialize in doing, getting secrets from the government they don't want you to know about. And people want to know about the Epstein scandal, and we aim to get to the bottom of it.
So would you be in favor of a special counsel to be set up that perhaps could look at the internal corruption at the DOJ and the FBI that we know to be endemic, and perhaps that's what you need, right?
Well, I would say special counsel is what seems to be what the American people are calling for. What I will also tell you, though, Benny, is that, we haven't seen any of this information. I don't know that any member of Congress, at least on my task force, has been able to even look at some of the basics. And so what I would say is that, similar to how it was rolled out with, the JFK files, give information that does not implicate victims, doesn't have CSAM, whether it's passports, whether it's the name of books, whether it's evidence, crime scenes, whatever it might be, put it on the archives and let the American people decide for themselves. That is the only way to, I think, restore trust. And look, I want to believe that there isn't systemic corruption at the DOJ, but unfortunately I've been in Congress and I've seen how the DOJ operates, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the Attorney General, but what it does necessarily mean is that there's a big problem over there, and that if we don't fix it, it's going to, unfortunately, fester, and it's going to hurt the American people. The American people trust that their government's going to do the right thing. If justice is truly fair and blind, then it needs to happen. And so we'll continue to push for that, really call for it, but it's been deafening how many members of Congress have been silent on this. And to be clear, also, I want to clear something up. I do not think, and I've told this to multiple media outlets because I've been getting questions on this, is Trump on the Epstein client list? No. And I'm very positive of that, because if he was, they would have released it during the election cycle. But what I do know, and what I'm seeing right now across, every aspect, whether it's rich, poor, famous, not famous, people have actual concerns. Are people basically paying off people to be quiet, and that's not okay.
Yeah. So that, so for Judicial Watch to file us, to have to sue to get the information is, very interesting. And then when you got Congress, who's really in charge of all these different aspects to get down to the bottom of these things, they're trying to get this information, and they're stonewalling them, and they're not giving them the information and all that stuff. And so we've done, the populist, community has done some investigative work up to this point, like break down the video that looks like it's, maybe or may not be real, or it could be spliced together or whatever like that. But Beck and his team got into it and looked at it, and it's pretty interesting what they say, what they've come up with. Let's go ahead and run this clip. See, it's kind of long, but it serves a purpose. So we're just going to run through the clip. Let's see if we can do this without getting too overwhelmed with the long clip. But I think it's it's good information before we get into the resignations and stuff like that. Let's do this. Stand by.
Is if the jump in the tape wasn't incompetent enough for you, listen to this one. Jason is here with us. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Glenn. What a morning. Wow.
Mm-hmm. What a morning it is. Okay, so Jason, what else have you found?
Okay, so the more and more we looked at this tape, I started looking, it was just weird because it looked like a janitor's closet.
So door 46.
Janitor's closet.
And you were like, shut up. This is not a janitor's closet. I don't know what this is. Well, I was like, I can tell you, there's a woman that looks like a janitor that comes out of supposedly the person, there's this cell that they're saying is his cell, which they're not, by the way. This was like people on social media were saying this was the cell. Is coming out with a trash can. So I looked around to see if there was any confirmation on what this cell was. And I found an OIG report from the Justice Department 2 years ago that shows the camera angle and the one camera that was actually working. So you can see the diagram, and I think we actually have it if you're watching this right now. There's a diagram that shows where this camera is. It shows where Epstein's cell is. And the big thing that stands out, Glenn, is this camera doesn't even have eyes on Epstein's cell at all. Like, not at all.
That's incredible.
4 different wings here. There is a service wing, and that's what we're looking at with that door 46. That's like a service entrance or staff entrance. Now, you can't see on the lower level Epstein cell at all. So this is what makes it look even crazier for that 1 minute that's missing. And I will say that, let me just say it this way. I've spent years and years and years looking at surveillance and security camera footage, as you know, in my previous job. I've never seen an over 1 minute jump right at a time that would be very, very, I don't know, just convenient. I've never seen that before in all my years looking at these things.
There's no reason. Why do you say that minute would be convenient? You're just saying that 1 minute being gone is convenient. You're not saying that particular minute
is convenient in this entire time frame based off of this camera angle. So it's convenient, like, let's say 60 seconds would be great for someone walking across that lower level. 60 seconds would be perfect for if you wanted to like conceal the fact that someone walked across that area. That's why
Here's why I didn't buy into this at first. Okay, 60 seconds to get in and open the door and then kill him and then leave. Okay, but look at the diagram. If you look at the diagram, where the camera is, there is maybe a foot space where the camera is not able to see where there is a door from the staff area. Okay?
Are you looking, because I think it's hard to tell from this, are we looking at, is this diagram the top floor or the bottom floor? Jason, do you have any idea?
So it looks like Epstein. So I think Epstein's cell is on the same as the top floor. Yeah. So the stairs would be
the upper floors, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking at where the staff area is. Okay. Mm-hmm. See the yellow triangle.
Yes.
And the red box where it's his cell. Okay. So there is one way out of the staff area, and it's right below the camera.
Like underneath the floor, essentially, of where the camera is.
Yeah, on the floor. If the camera's up on a ceiling, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the camera's is
from above,
from on the second floor, shooting down, and you can what the evidence that they're basically proclaiming here, and this is true. You know what Jason's saying is true, that you can't see the door of the Epstein cell. What you can see is a common area that, in theory, you would need to cross to get to the cell. What you're saying, Glenn, is the camera doesn't actually show 100% of the potential paths to get there, right?
It doesn't.
Like you could if you cross right in front of the banister here on the bottom floor, there's no way you're
going to see.
Right.
Okay, so wait a minute. So I just want to make sure. We are talking about the same thing. If you look at the videotape, it's the white room downstairs, right? So it's where the garbage can is down there. So Epstein's room would be below the garbage can.
No, the Epstein's room, if you look out, if you see the area that you can see, and I apologize for the radio listeners here that aren't seeing this visual, but I want to make sure we get this right. There's an open area where the banister is like and it shows the common area behind it, right?
Okay.
If you go to the right side of the common area from our view, outside of the view to the right is where the entrance to the cell is, the stairs up to the cell.
So all you have to do, you don't have to cross the floor. Why do you have to cross the floor?
You could stay close to that wall.
You could go through the door
You can go through the door and see and just stay against the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe, and Jason, maybe you know this, if maybe it's explained somewhere else in the report, but like, is it possible that they're saying all the other entrances, like to get to that area, have cameras, and so they didn't see anybody walking into those areas? If that were true, of course you should.
Then why wouldn't you show the other?
Right. I mean,
this is not proof that anybody did anything.
No.
This is proof they are absent. Pam Bondi needs to be fired.
Yeah, so they go on and on about it, and then Glenn talks about how, she needs to be fired and all that stuff. So this is, common area to the far right where it says play. Down in that right-hand lower corner is where Epstein's cell's at, apparently. So this doesn't cut the mustard at all. I don't know why the DOJ would even put out this. I don't know why it would even, they should have not even put one out, because this makes it even worse, because his cell's not 46. It would be one thing if that camera was on 46 and that was his cell, but it's not. That's not even his cell. And that's the thing that everybody's talking about. And there's some other video out there which does the same thing. Doesn't mean shit to me. It doesn't make any sense. This is all theater, okay? It's all just theater. It's more theater. And this is why everyone is in such an uproar about this, because none of it makes sense. None of it makes any sense. Whether it's let this go, Trump coming out and talking shit to the reporter, or or this video, or any of the other things that they're talking about. Oh, Epstein was not killed, he hung himself. There's no proof in that. And by the way, back in 2019 or whenever it was, 1819, when the coroner, the most reputable coroner in the United States, viewed the body, said that his neck was broken in 3 places, and it's not consistent with hanging himself. By the way, the noose was made out of paper, and it was attached to the bed, which was less than 4 feet from the floor. So it's virtually impossible for any of the scenario to play out. And I know it's been so long. I know lots of people have seen all this video in the past, or all these different diagrams and all this stuff, but I'm just trying to paint a picture. If you're new and you don't understand what's going on, this is what we're talking about, okay? Now, we're going to keep going here. I got a compilation of Alex Jones breaking it down, and Stephen A. Smith talking about, it's a fresh video, just came out. I just barely was able to get it in the queue here to get it ready. So it is ready now. And it's Stephen A. Smith saying, and this is a liberal mind, why does Jeffrey Epstein's situation matter so much about him? Blah, blah, blah. So let's stand by. Let's do it. We're going to get to it right now.
Listen, I like Stephen A. Smith. I've liked him for a long time, and he sees the world's waking up, so he's kind of coming over Trump world. He puts out this video, I'll post right next to this, saying we're treating Trump like the Antichrist because we're pissed off by the Epstein list. They promised to release it. We know it's there. We know there's all these terabytes of videos. It's come out in all these court investigations and indictments. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of human trafficking. Now they put out a Justice Department memo a week ago saying it doesn't exist, and he wasn't even a human trafficker. Ben Shapiro now says he didn't even jaywalk now, that Epstein's basically innocent. So it's this 180. It's this PR disaster. We then worry about what else is about to happen. No, all day long I talk about the positive stuff Trump does and how I want to support him and how I want to back him, want him to succeed. But I told people when this broke last Sunday or whatever, I said, this is a firestorm. Not with me, but with the public. You see the shakeup at the DOJ, the FBI, Bongino about to resign, Patel, all of it. This is a big deal, guys, because those files, those videos, that information is there. It's come out in court, a whole bunch of it. So Ben Shapiro can say it doesn't exist. It does, and that's the issue now. It's being told nothing ever happened. There's no list. There's no blackmail. Nobody ever human trafficked, even though his partner in crime, Ghislaine, went to prison for it, even though her dad was Mossad, MI6, running it in mainstream news articles 15, 20 years ago. I mean, look, we're just informed, Smith. So I'm glad you're starting to get caught up and get woke up here, and I get it. I'm in horror over this. I want Trump to succeed. I need him to. The Democrats are trying to put me in prison. But we're not like Democrats that are in a cult and just accept what the leadership says. We put Trump in power, and so people are pissed off. I'm going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The public is getting pissed, okay? This is a major miscalculation. For whatever reason this happened, that's the facts, okay? That's what's going on. We're not the cult. And so we demand more from our populist leaders than the Democrats do from their communist pedophile leaders. Got it? That's it. We don't want Trump or the DOJ by joining in on the Epstein cover-up. We know what went on. It's the key of the deep state. We're not going to stop. Streisand effect in effect. Comprende?
Trump, no matter what you may think about him, if you are on the right, you could not ask for better than what he has done, because what he has done is what they have said they wanted and have been trying to get done for years. And even they admit that he's doing their bidding, yet they're in an uproar because the Department of Justice said there's no client list and the Epstein Files case is closed. Really? I mean, I'm wondering I got to talk to Steve Bannon. I got to talk to him. I got to talk to some of these people, the Tucker Carlsons of the world and everybody going crazy over the Epstein client list. That's what you're concerned about? I mean, you've got such a hard on for the president that you are losing your mind with all the things. Again, if you are a member of the right, you're a centrist, you're a leftist, you can't be too happy with what he's doing. But on the right, you have the audacity to look at this man like he's I don't want to be facetious, but you're treating him like he's the Antichrist right now because of the Epstein list. That's what you're mad about? I do find myself a bit shocked by that. I'm like, damn, I expected folks on the right to have a lot better things to complain about than that. But they really, I don't even want to bring up his name, but you know who it was that was crying on his podcast, a few days ago because the Epstein list wasn't released. Really? Really? That's what Bongino, I respect the hell out of Bongino. I really, really do. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with everything he said, but I have profound respect for him and his service to our country, being, doing the things that he has done. But that's what you're reportedly contemplating resigning. You're the deputy director of the FBI. Really?
The first thing that comes to my mind, and forgive me if I'm wrong, is how much was he paid to say that? Because it's like, is he the only one out of all of the people that are out there on the internet that doesn't see that this is bigger than Jeffrey Epstein's list or client list or whatever? This is about the deep state and taking them down. And this is all deep state, Mossad, Israel, etc., deep state that have doing their best to get Trump's hands clasped behind his back right now, and everything that he does, every executive order, they file lawsuits against it and holds it up, whether it's the illegal aliens or whatever, any of the things that he's attempting to do, whether it's tariffs or whatever, they're just constant lawsuits. They just spend tons of time doing these lawsuits and spending time doing that instead of getting to work. And this is, I get it. He's a liberal and I understand. But the first thing that comes to my mind is that how much was he paid? And, he's got some good commentary. I'll give him that. But I just don't understand why he doesn't see it the way it really is. And, maybe it's everybody else and he's the only one that's right. I don't know. Anyway, so I have a couple. I have a couple articles here. I'm going to put this one up on the screen for us right now. I think this is it. Let's see here. We got Daily Wire. I have a couple here. Daily Wire. Hold on, get my cursor. I need to make my cursor dark. Bongino or Bondi or Bongino. Bongino won't remain at the FBI if Bondi keeps job, sources say. Now, this is very interesting. If you just got here and you don't know what's going on here, let me explain this to you. Bongino, the deputy director of the FBI, is threatened to leave the bureau if Attorney General Bondi remains on the job. A source close to Bongino tells the Daily Wire. Bongino is reportedly furious with Attorney General Bondi over the handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files, which has led many to believe he could walk away from his job he took in February with an ultimatum. He says he won't work alongside Bondi. And I mean, it goes on, it's on the Daily Wire. You can, if you want to read the whole article, it's there. But this is something. And when you think about this, when you really think about what's going on with this article and with Bongino, see, I was like, hey, what in the hell's going on here? Right? Like, how in the hell did this go down like this? Is Susie Wiles handicapping Trump's administration to such a level that the FBI director or, deputy director has to threaten to quit his job, which he's close to Trump, by the way. They're very close. He has to threaten to quit his job for President Trump to see what's going on so that he can get eyesight on what's going on, because that's what this sounds like to me. It's like I can't get a call into Trump because I'm breaking chain of command. But if I tell him I have an ultimatum, I'm going to quit because I can't work with Bondi. Maybe that'll get Trump's attention, because again, Susie Wiles hired Pam Bondi as AG. That was her pick. Blah blah blah. All that stuff. When Matt Gaetz didn't get. When Matt Gaetz removed himself from the AG spot because of the controversy with some chick, whatever it was, I don't know the real details behind it. So anyway, then I have another one. Dan Bongino loses his mind and ran out of D.C. after explosive Epstein throwdown with Pam Bondi, reports. There's another one where this is Mediaite. So, they write it however they want to make it sound what they want it to sound like. But anyway, so, and then I'm going to play the clips here in a second, but I just want to go over these couple articles. And then we got, there's no clip to this one, but Laura Loomer, after scooping Bongino's news, says Ron DeSantis is under consideration to replace Pam Bondi. I don't know about that, but I mean, I guess he's got heart. I don't know. Anyway, let's get back to this. Okay. So, we have a couple, we're going to go through this real quick here. We're going to play them as I receive them, and so the information will be somewhat in the right order. Okay. 1, 2. Yeah, just a couple. Stand by.
When this whole Epstein cover-up whitewash broke just a few days ago, seems like 100 years ago, I told everybody this is a big scandal, ladies and gentlemen. And I told you it came right from the top, from Trump, for whatever reason he wants to move on. Never seen any evidence he's connected to Epstein. But regardless, we were told all this stuff was coming out, and now we're told it never existed, when we know a ton of stuff does exist. But I told you this wasn't just going to blow over. And the fact that they handled this way was going to create a giant Streisand effect. Well, now it has. And this morning I came out and said, looks like Bongino is going to resign. I believe he will. I think it's overall because he's got integrity. And it's not even about Trump. It's just about the way things have been handled and where this is going. Trump is doing so much good. His administration is doing so much good. Tom Homan, Robert Kennedy Jr., Maha, trying to stop the wars. It's so important. But this attempt to say, never talk about Epstein again, move along, is not the George you're looking for, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, is backfiring. And now the Democrats want hearings. It's just all going completely insane. The answer to all of this is to just put the information out. The answer is to tell the truth. Let the chips fall where they may. Yes, it can kill the stock market. Yes, it's going to bring down a lot of powerful people. But those are the powerful people that set up this corrupt system. We didn't elect Trump to play half measures. We didn't elect Trump to sit there and take over the establishment. We elected him to demolish the establishment. Trump didn't save him in Butler and take him through all these crises to then just take over the establishment, try to dismantle it that way. No, we want the whole thing to come crashing down for the whole world to see as an example to future tyrants. If we don't do that, God's going to judge us, probably nuclear hellfire. That's my view on it. What do you think below? But I believe Bongino will be gone by Monday. What do you think?
Okay, so breaking news. Cash Patel's being reported that Cash Patel has notified that if Dan Bongino resigns because of Pam Bondi's mishandling of what she's now publicly saying is Pam Bondi's mishandling of the Epstein Files, that he, Cash Patel, will step down as director of the FBI to follow Dan. If I can just give you the way I think the system works, right? I assume that Dan and Cash got some sign-off before they made those statements, right? I don't think those are random statements.
I'm going to cut things a little bit.
Here's why why do you think there's movement right now? Is there movement from this afternoon, from yesterday? You agree that there's movement? You can see movement? You know why there's movement? No, special prosecutor. You've raised the stakes and said, we want a special prosecutor. We won't take anything else. We want to directly report to the United States. And now you're seeing the machinery starting to work. Well, upon further review, right? So do you guys still want a special prosecutor? Do you want you don't want Dan and Cash to resign, right? Remember how hard it was to get Cash confirmed? Remember how first off, you guys did Bobby Kennedy, Pete Hegseth. Wow, Pete's going to be here this afternoon, I think. Bobby Kennedy, Pete Hegseth, Cash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard. We had no easy ones, right? There were no easy ones. Could we have gotten Matt Gaetz confirmed as Attorney General? You think so? Did Matt Gaetz get tossed to the wayside too early? You agree with that?
So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think that I'm right on this one? You think that they're like, hey, the only way for this to get the right coverage that it needs is for Trump to hear it? It's just like saying, hey, we want special counsel on the Epstein Files, regardless if you say it's over or not. This is what we want. We put you in office. 75 million people voted for you, and this is what we want. We don't want no more Lindsey Grahams telling us how it's going to be. We want to have a seat at the table, just like Trump has always done. And I was going to bore you with the other clip where Trump was, had words with the reporter, but we already seen that in the other report, so I'm not going to bore you with that because we already know that that was a misstep on Trump's part. It really was a misstep, and he shouldn't have done it. And I don't want to over slander Trump, but this is not good. The Iran thing, bad move, bad move, and then now this thing with the Epstein Files and all that stuff. It's just not what the American people want. We don't want war, and we don't want. We want to see who it is, who in the deep state is responsible for the child trafficking of our children. Okay? Of our children. We want to know. We want to know who it is. We're not settling for anything less. It's just not Good. Now, we got this. Let me see, where's that? Here, hold on a second. I'm gonna play these two back to back. This is the Epstein survivor. Listen to what she says towards the end of this interview about what she experienced, and then I'm going to play you a Simpsons clip that another prediction from Simpsons. Okay, we're going to play those two back to back. Stand by.
A cover-up is a cover-up, so they're obviously hiding a lot. I used to speak to other victims. Unfortunately, we've all been kept apart. Virginia Giffer and I used to speak often. 2 years ago, I got a message from her saying, oh, she's not using her phone anymore. I can email her through her husband's email address. So we had a few communications there, but otherwise I haven't been able to be in touch with her. They've kept most of the victims apart. Also, everyone's got to remember that there were over 200 victims, many more actually, but these are the ones with evidence, the ones who were involved in the lawsuit. I would like to know where the other 200 victims are. It's very, very frightening when girls are going missing as well. For God's sake, but Virginia Giffer was found dead. Carolyn Adriano, who testified against Ghislaine Maxwell, was found dead. Ruslana, there are many. There are at least 7 Epstein victims that have been found dead so far. I'm too frightened to even leave my house, to be honest. And I'm sure that the victims in America are even more frightened. For me, I live in Africa, so it's not as dangerous for me, as other people speaking out against the FBI and the CIA, because they're all involved. Epstein told me he worked with the CIA. The FBI tried to get me there to interview me. They only wanted to interview me in person. They would not interview me over Zoom. They organized emergency visas for my son and I. They were arranging for us to be put in first-class flights, 5-star hotels, but my child's father wouldn't let us travel, so thank goodness, in fact, because a lot of weird stuff happened with a lot of the girls who were interviewed by the FBI. And it's very frightening, like I said, not just for the victims, but for everyone in the world, when we're all being lied to like this.
If Epstein was just, do you think he was trying to get people to sleep with girls, or what do you think the angle was?
Well, as I've spoken about recently, I saw him shapeshift into something else in front of my eyes. It looked like a sort of reptilian creature, like when I was in the bedroom, when you took me there. And what I'm starting to realize is it was probably like an alien creature. And it's hard talking about this because a lot of people think it's crazy. And I would also think it was crazy. But unfortunately, I saw it. And also in New Mexico, I saw a UFO there. And then I woke up in a laboratory with people working on me, 6 people in hazmat suits, or I don't even know if there were people.
Did you get drugged?
I don't actually know. They didn't allow any alcohol or drugs there, but they could have drugged me.
What have I done? What am I doing? What will I do?
The politics of failure have failed. We need to make them work again. Tomorrow, when you are sealed in the voting cubicle, vote for me, Senator Bob Dole.
I am looking forward to an orderly election tomorrow, which will eliminate the need for a violent bloodbath. America, take a good look at your beloved candidates. They're nothing but hideous space reptiles. It's true. We are aliens. But what are you going to do about it? It's a two-party system. You have to vote for one of us.
He's right. This is a two-party system. Well, I believe I'll vote for a third-party candidate.
Go ahead. Throw your vote away.
So when does that Simpsons?
Oh, there's no Epstein list? I guess that whole case is solved now. Good evening and welcome to We Lie to You News, our top story. The DOJ and FBI have officially concluded there is no Epstein list, along with the fact that he definitely killed himself and didn't have blackmail on any prominent figures. Now for the details. After years of struggle and speculation, now you, the public, can finally have a sense of closure on the Epstein case. And we'd like to thank the DOJ and FBI for finally getting to the bottom of it and solving the case. Job well done. We'll all sleep better at night knowing that justice is being served by way of no justice being needed. But what are the details? And believe it or not, there's actually a little controversy surrounding these official conclusions. We can start on this line of the FBI's official conclusion. This systemic review revealed no incriminating client list. Now, some people in the public who are unhinged enough to think the earth is round and birds are real still actually believe there is a client list. They, for some reason, believe what they were told by people leading the investigation, like Attorney General Pam Bondi.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
You might be asking, what list was on her desk? Answer, the list that doesn't exist. That should clarify that. And FBI Director Kash Patel signed off on the conclusion that there is no Epstein list. Here he is talking about releasing the list that doesn't exist.
Well, the Epstein Black Book, like on day one, roll out the Black Book.
And the list he speaks of in the form of the Black Book turns out not to exist. Specifically, the Black Book of Ghislaine Maxwell's that contains names of 2,000 people, including world leaders, celebrities, and businessmen, that was kept a secret in the court deal also doesn't exist. And Vice President J.D. Vance also backs up the FBI's conclusion by confirming there's no Epstein list. Here you can see him talking about the non-existence of it.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list.
With the FBI solving the mystery of this crime, we can now see that Epstein's large-scale criminal sex trafficking ring only ever involved two people, Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Nobody else, and both of them have been arrested. Moving along, here's Pam Bondi talking about tens of thousands of videos of Epstein involving children.
The FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children.
While there's conclusively no list, is it possible that in these tens of thousands of videos, they could have looked at the people who were with the children and then made a list? We speculate that couldn't be done because the amount of paper needed for such an extensive list would have created a devastating carbon footprint that would have been unforgivable in the eyes of the public. Moving along, the FBI's statement concludes that Epstein definitely died by suicide. It reads, the conclusion that Epstein died by suicide is further supported by video footage from the common area of the special housing unit where Epstein was housed at the time of his death. And the DOJ puts their money where their mouth is because they released that very video footage. And then many pointed out that the video footage was edited, missing a minute of footage. As you can see here, forensics experts were able to assemble the missing minute of footage from outside of Epstein's cell. And as you can see, there's nothing to see here. And in completely coincidental news, the same week that all who are on Epstein's list that doesn't exist are cleared, Diddy was also cleared of the major charges against him. Fun fact, the prosecutor against Diddy is Maureen Comey, and during his trial, no one was named on his incriminating list or tapes. She was also the prosecutor against Ghislaine Maxwell, where it was found she trafficked minors to nobody. And she was also the prosecutor against Epstein in 2019, where no names were named, because it turns out there was never anybody else. Just like with Diddy and Maxwell. And she also happens to be the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, who recently made a death threat against President Trump. What does all that mean? It means justice is being served. Now, in spite of the FBI's conclusions, some still speculate that there is an Epstein list and that Trump is using it to blackmail the deep state. However, because a list doesn't exist as much as the deep state doesn't exist, we view that theory as a baseless conspiracy theory. And now a word from Elon.
I think the public will be rightly frustrated if there's if no one is prosecuted for the Epstein client list? No one at all.
Well, the public might be frustrated, Elon, but that's just because they're too dumb to betray what their eyes and ears are telling them in the name of believing what the authorities are telling them. It's their own fault. And with all the guilty parties in the Epstein case behind bars, we'd like to thank the FBI and DOJ once again for finally bringing complete closure to this case so the public can sleep well at night and hopefully during the day as well. Good night.
Yep. So that's all the fun and games I have. No, I mean, you know, I had to lighten it up. You know, when I start talking about this pedophilia or this bullshit that's around these kids and it got to lighten it up because, if you've been with me at all, I get sick to my stomach from it. So anyway. All right, so let's get back to it here. We got some pretty interesting stuff for you. So, I don't know if you've seen this report, but let me pull it over for you. Let's see if we can. Let's get back over here. All right, let's see what's going on here. Hopefully that's been working. That looks good. So this report right here is pretty interesting. It's administration takes steps to target 2 officials who investigated Trump. So it's Comey and Brennan. That ought to be fun, right? To see what they do with this, because the truth is none of these people ever get indicted or arrested or brought in. If they're brought in for questioning, they get softball questions and all that stuff. But apparently Pam Bondi is going to file indictment charges against Brennan and Comey. So let's get into this real quick here. I have a couple videos for you that kind of help you out with this a little bit. We got a couple. Let's see here. What do we got here? We got this guy. Yeah, we're going to play these 2 back to back. Stand by.
Well, now there's this. The FBI has launched criminal investigations into former FBI Director James Comey and the former director of the CIA, John Brennan. Justice Department sources tell Fox News Digital the probes are related to potential wrongdoing related to the Trump-Russia investigation. That includes allegations of making false statements to Congress. We'll keep an eye on that for you.
But these 3 men, Brennan, Clapper, and Comey, these 3 men are the archetypes. They're the figureheads of this revolution against the American people. What should happen to them?
But they should immediately be put under investigation immediately. And actually, there can be decisions by the president with the authorities that he has to bring them in now, like to bring them in under question and question them. And frankly, there's a lot of authorities that he has to be able to do that for solely national security purposes. Now, let me make a statement here, too, about those 3, Benny. Those 3 are soldiers. They're not commanders. Those 3 are soldiers. They were doing the bidding of those that are leading this effort to overthrow this country, okay? Barack Obama is one of the subordinate leaders of that cabal.
You have a high confidence level that Clapper, Comey, and Brennan will all go to prison if this investigation is
I do. I absolutely do, because what they'll learn is they're going to learn that there was a conspiracy to undermine. It's clear. There's a conspiracy to undermine the presidency of the United States of America and, of course, President Donald J. Trump. And to do that, they had to take a whole series of actions. And frankly, Hillary Clinton's part of this.
Yeah, so let me roll this this third one for you so you can see what the other interview from Flynn was like. Stand by. Let me just throw it up here now so you can get it out of the way.
What needs to be done here?
I would pull my team in, the close, trusted personal advisors he has, and I would say something along the lines of, look, We just crushed the Iranian nuclear program and set them back 10 years, let's say. I want this team to crush the deep state, just like we just crushed the Iranian nuclear program. But I want the setback to be forever. So we have got to come up with some ideas right now to massively shut down, agencies, organizations, maybe whole departments, get rid of a whole bunch of people. And we also have to, and I would be looking right at my attorney general and probably at the director of national intelligence and saying, you two work together. And I would direct both of those individuals to come to me with a plan, I'd give them maybe 72 hours. And I'd say, I want a plan for an investigation. And then I want to see some indictments. And I want to see some people brought in for questioning right now. It's good versus evil. And we better understand right now that if we don't take the evidence, if we don't take the information that we are getting, and the American people are standing there like me right now, we're standing or we're sitting and we're saying, please, Mr. President, take action.
Yeah, so we have the information for this. We know that Brennan, Clapper, and Comey were the orchestrators of, and they've already pulled all their clearances, but really when you think about it, if something doesn't happen about this, and I know it was 2016 or 2015, 2016, 2017, we know that it was way back then, couple impeachments and all that stuff behind this Russia hoax thing. But remember, if we don't do something about this and we let this go, they're just going to do it again. And that's what's happened over and over and over. It continues to happen because nothing's ever done. The Republicans have no spine. That's why I don't really consider myself a Republican. Only, I guess, if I have to vote, we're going to say that. But I'm a populist, man. I'm a realist. I mean, maybe even a capitalist, but definitely not a sleazy Republican, because they don't have a backbone, first of all. And maybe it'll change with America First. If once we get past this, all this bullshit going on with the Epstein Files and all these different things like that, hopefully we get, to some, normalcy. I would hope that would happen. But, again, what never happens is any of these people getting indicted. Even, hey, maybe they didn't do it. Let's just say that maybe they didn't do it, and if they did, let's get them in. Let's sit them down. Let's squeeze them, and we'll start with Clapper, and then he'll probably turn on the other ones, and then we'll get the information that we need, because that one little piece is just one little tiny fragment of all this stuff that's went on the last 10 years or longer, 20 probably. But I'm just saying, I mean, I think it's important that we not let this go and that we apply as much pressure as we can. Just like General Flynn said just now, we need to apply absolute pressure to this, because otherwise it's just going to keep happening. And maybe they'll start turning on each other, because that's what we really need. We need these people to turn on each other. That would be the best idea. Now, there's a lot of talk right now, and we've covered a lot of this. The different things that we've talked about with terrorist cells and the no kings and the ICE being attacked, and all this stuff. And one of the things that we really want to look into and really pay attention to is what's happening with the deep state, what they're doing with these people, whether it's George Soros, Alex Soros, whoever, that's putting all these people on the street, doing all these, what they're calling protests. They're shooting at the ICE agents yesterday. I don't think that's probably a very good thing. I mean, I think that the ICE agents will kill you if you do that. Lord forbid anything like that happens. But yeah, it's It's interesting. Let me see where I'm at here so I can get on the right page here. Okay. You need to pay attention to the next bunch of clips that we cover right now. We're going to talk about ICBM missiles in the United States, drones that have been smuggled over the border, and the civil war that we're currently in, and this whole thing with this the ICE raids, or the ICE officers being attacked and all this stuff, and all these protests and all this stuff. These are all paid actors. We know that. I mean, there may be some that are just out there because they probably don't have a job. They don't have anything better to do. But when you look at it, we're in a civil war right now. And I hate to say it like that, but let me lay this out for you, okay? Let me start with this clip right here. And yeah, stand by. I was looking to see which one I want to start with.
The number one threat to our country is right here at home. Okay, it's right here. It's the subversion and espionage that is occurring right now in our government to undermine, again, the duly elected president of the United States of America, President Donald J. Trump.
I'm not blaming the FBI director, Kash Patel, or the deputy director, Dan Bongino. I think that layer beneath them, that's part of what we like to call the deep state, has taken this bull by the horns, and they've probably destroyed information. Look at what the CIA did in 1975 after Congress ordered that it release all of its files related to an operation called MK Ultra. The director of the CIA went back to headquarters and ordered everything to be destroyed. And in the end, only about 20% of the documents survived. We're still learning about the FBI's operations against Martin Luther King 55 years after the fact. So now we're supposed to believe that everybody's telling the truth, that there were no files, there were no dossiers. I'm sorry, I just don't buy it because I know how these people operate.
And if you thought that his 45th presidency was undermined with Russiagate, which we lived through and survived, it's worse. The bureaucracy and the deep state that he is facing now, because it's not just what Obama left behind, because Obama left behind a lot of traps, a lot of minefields, and of course, and the whole promulgation of Russiagate. But now they've had that, and they continued to enforce, and they continued to build the deep state while Trump was the president of the United States during his last administration. And then they stole the election in 2020, and then they had the fake, Uncle Joe Biden administration for 4 years, and all they did was they strengthened and thickened their lines of communications and their networks inside of the government. And they left another batch of trapdoors and minefields for the new Trump administration. So Trump is up against, he's in a knife fight with his own administration.
Yeah, so whether you want to believe that is exactly as it is or not, it really is. He's really in a knife fight. And one of the things that's going on here is this. They've smuggled people in here, illegal aliens in here, and we've talked about this in nausea, really, about the illegal aliens, whether it's Trinidad or whatever, any of these cartels or these ISIS and Taliban and so forth over here. But we got to pay attention now, because this is the kind of stuff that I'm hearing, and it's concerning. So let's listen to what Doc Chambers was talking to Laura Logan, and let's listen to what he says about ICBMs and drones and stuff being smuggled across the border that he eyewitnessed. Stand by.
What else did you see coming over that border?
Okay, so yeah, let's be careful with this one. Hardware. I know. Military hardware, yes.
Drones.
Drones for sure. I've watched them come across. I've physically seen the drones.
Explosives.
Explosives for sure, absolutely.
Surface
to air missiles. Yes. Not in Texas. But the information came to us about another state where they came across an port of entry.
Okay, and so what you have really is a collaboration between the Mexican cartels, the Venezuelan cartels, all of whom are now designated as foreign terrorist organizations, working with the Iranian Revolutionary Guards units.
They're docked in Venezuelan passports, yes.
And the CCP, Chinese facility.
100%. It's harder for them to hide when they come across, but they do. They pay different, they come different.
So it's like an American Enemies Convention, aided and abetted by our domestic enemies.
Aided and abetted by that, and then aided and abetted by certain individuals on this side of the border that are American citizens that are in positions of power.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
You gotta call it for what it is. This is a white nationalist agenda.
It is a wholesale takeover of the country by a fascist ideology.
There's no fascist ideology that anybody detected. But there's a pattern, just to be very quick, in the United States, that when a president is a Republican, then he is called a Nazi or a fascist while in office. So George Bush was called a digital brown shirt by Al Gore. I think Angela Merkel said it's the same old fascist thing. Even John Flynn called him a fascist. And then Bush was out of office, and then Trump came in, and everybody said, oh, I wish we had George Bush. He was a statesman. He was a moderate.
And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy? The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
The streets are set to burn on June 14th as the so-called No Kings movement gears up to unleash chaos across America, cloaking their rebellion in the guise of patriotism on Flag Day. Clearly, a calculated assault on the very fabric of our nation, timed to coincide with President Trump's 79th birthday and the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary, led by the likes of Indivisible and the shadowy 5051 movement.
Every state protesting dictators. That is from the 5051 movement, which started these protests against what Trump was doing very early on in the second Trump term. Remember, 5051 comes from them organizing 50 protests in 50 state capitals all on one day. That's what 5051 stands for.
No Kings activist collaborators, the Indivisible Project, a progressive nonprofit founded in 2016, hell-bent on opposing the Trump administration, received over $8 million from George Soros's Open Society Foundations between 2017 and 2023. Some of its founders, like Ezra Levin and Leah Greenberg, have indirect ties to Soros-funded groups through past affiliations. I'm just as tired of saying it as you are of hearing it. But when in Hades is the U.S. government going to boot the Soros family out of the United States political framework? Recent attacks on federal officers by rogue protesters emboldened by the same anti-Trump fervor prove this isn't about free speech. It's about anarchy, plain and simple, with violence against law enforcement becoming the calling card of this radical left-wing crusade.
Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd.
The fiery bloodshed in Boulder, Colorado is just a preview of what's coming. These groups, backed by globalist puppets like Move On and the Human Rights Campaign, are weaponizing the narrative of authoritarianism to justify their own lawlessness. This isn't resistance, it's sedition, and it's escalating as the left loses what's left of its mind.
I'm sterile today.
Yeah.
You're
mad. I'm happy. You're mad. You're mad. You're mad. You're touching. Don't touch me. Hey, don't touch me.
We have a mental health crisis. Prior to the pandemic, about 1 billion people on the planet suffered from a mental disorder. That represents about 13% of the world's population. Rates in the United States are even higher. 1 in 5 people have a mental disorder in any given year. About 50% of Americans will meet criteria for a mental illness at some point or another during their life.
Why did you tell me to come this way, Griselda? You know I hate nature. Look at those disgusting trees stealing my oxygen.
This is the current state of the modern day Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has been completely captivated by these far left lunatics.
The $45 million parade, a celebration of our military's might, is being twisted into a symbol of tyranny by those who'd rather see America kneel than stand tall. Ask yourself, who benefits from this chaos? Yes, per usual, the elites pulling the strings, banking on division to topple a nation. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
Yeah, so if you know, or I don't know if you know what happened on the 14th, but they were doing all across the United States, they were doing these what they called protests that, you know, a lot of them got very violent and all that stuff. Well, that's still going on. They've just changed the name a little bit. It's the same funding, same people doing it. You know, they did it on the 4th of July. They were in like Los Angeles, Chicago, all these different places. And the reason why I'm showing you that clip that's a few weeks old is because it's the same narrative that has been spun about, you know, fascism and white people and all these different things. And you know, the ICE officers are fascists and all that stuff. This is what's being, this is their whole idea is to get these people all wound up on, you know, whatever, and get them out there in the street. They pay these people to burn stuff, bash windows out of cars and all that stuff. So the reason why I set this up like this is because I want you to see this thing that's going on with the Civil War that's coming up. I'm going to play the shorter clip just to set it up, and then I'm going to play, actually, let me see here. How do I want to do this? Let's see. I'm going to play the long clip. I have 2 clips that are pretty long, but we're just going to run them one at a time. We'll come back and talk about it. This is Matt Bracken talking about Civil War has started in Los Angeles, and it's going to start going all over the United States. So stand by.
Now, in the Fort Sumter situation, South Carolina secedes, but there's this big federal fort right in the middle of their harbor flying a big American flag. They were told, take down the flag, get on a Yankee ship, and leave, and they refused. That was considered the beginning of the Civil War. But at the time, Lincoln didn't have the ability to arrest the governor of South Carolina. Instead, they marched into Northern Virginia and had the first Battle of Bull Run, Manassas, which was, they thought, we'll just drive down to Richmond, this war will be over in a month. And it took 4 years. So the idea that we're going to pour a National Guard or Marine Corps into Los Angeles, you have to consider Los Angeles is a megapolis. It's almost like a Mexico City or a
we understand. So we've got to get the leadership that's to create a battle plan 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago. So, I mean, we have them.
But we're going to have this the info war is going to be key here because people will have to understand this is an invasion. And, whether it's an invasion like Normandy or whether it's an invasion of stealth where the fighters are brought across under Biden, 10 or 20 million, to get their weapons once they're here, it's still an invasion. And the guarantee clause of the Constitution gives the president not only the right, but the responsibility to repel an invasion. And the Alien Removal Act, which is on the books, also gives him the right to deport anybody, any foreign male over the age of 15 who prevents a threat. You're gone. It's right in the Alien Removal Act. It doesn't require a declared war. There's the UR clause in the Alien Removal Act, which is basically, widens it wide open where they will use it today. So the key thing is not to blunder in there heavy and, like you conquer Baghdad, but then what, right? The key is going to be preparing the ground in the information war so that people clearly understand who the traitors are. The traitors are the ones who are helping the invaders. Period.
And let's be clear. Let's continue, but let's be clear. We've been building for decades. You've been warning. I've been warning. I'm getting chills. Smart people that are patriots in the government know this. Trump understands it. Stephen Miller understands it. Tom Homan understands it. But everybody, the police and the military and then the citizens and everybody, this is it, people. You think they're going to let us just take our country back and turn the economy back on and do all this stuff? No. This is the big globalist move. This is it. Matt, explain it to him.
Yeah, and this is far more dangerous than if it was just the Reconquista Aztlan people, trying to take the Southwest out of the USA. That is bad enough, and that's plenty of foot soldiers. But America today has lots of enemies. There's Islamic enemies. There's China, North Korea, Iran, Russia. Lots of players would like to leverage this into an escalation, because if America is in the middle of a civil war at home, we are not going to be threatening Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, because we'll be busy right here just trying to keep the power on. So in this kind of a situation, anybody could then, not just the Aztlan Reconquista crew, any Antifa types, Iranian agents, all they've got to do is start shooting at some big substations like the Metcalf attack, blackout. Imagine Los Angeles now being blacked out, okay? And it'll be blamed on Antifa, or it'll be the lefties will call it a right-wing false flag. In this environment, nobody will believe anything. But if the power goes out in LA, and the other thing that we just saw with the Palisades fire, a lot of the recent fires in New Jersey and et cetera are arson. They're, lunatics or otherwise who go out and just, throw flares into the brush. So California in June is a dry place. And all you've got to do is wait for a windy day, go up above a city and do a Palisades fire. So you can have overlapping disasters, power outages, wildfires, all at the same time, while highways are being blocked, while the police are exhausted because they're doing, 12 on, 12 off for, a week straight. You can't even go home.
Oh, we have hundreds of videos of people with Mexican flags burning trees, grass, buildings, apartment complexes, blowing up cars.
This is the one, but it will have to be very carefully handled, because just like we had several battles of Fallujah, the Russians had two big battles of Grozny in Chechnya. And this is, I think, in the 90s, early 2000s, both battles of Grozny. The first time they just rode into the capital of Chechnya, Grozny, yay, we won. Look, all of our armored columns penetrated straight to the middle of the city. And then they were decimated by teams running out with RPGs, and just satchel charges. So just rushing in with a heavy presence is not a guarantee of success. You think Baghdad, mission accomplished. It's going to require a very careful approach, because it's very easy to make this thing worse with a heavy-handed approach where, let's say, a unit of police are cut off, like those guys under the bridge, and they decide they have to shoot their way out to survive. And by shooting their way out, they end up shooting a lot of, Antifa, Reconquista guys, but invariably they'll shoot some civilians, and there's your George Floyd. So this is a tinderbox. It's extremely dangerous, and it has to be handled delicately. This can't be handled with a mailed fist. Lincoln went like, we're just going to attack Virginia. We'll just drive to Richmond. That's the end of the Confederacy. It didn't work. So Los Angeles is so big, it's like its own universe. It's like its own continent. You can't isolate little neighborhoods like Portland.
No, I understand. So Matt, let's talk about what the White House needs to do. We have the law on our side. We have these Congress people and mayors saying or directing the rioters. You have Newsom saying, come get me. We're going to protect anybody here, even if they're not a citizen. Get out of this area. That's terrorism. They're trying to hold an area. We talk about Chaz and all these communist autonomous zones. L.A. is trying to, beyond a sanctuary city, literally secede right now.
Absolutely.
This is the model for the rest of the country. It's the Podesta plan to break the blue states away. after they, quote, claim Trump's a dictator. It's all war-gamed. And so Trump needs to come out with televised address, talk about the Podesta plan, educate everybody, basically just blueprint what we say here. It's all true. And just do a national address and say they want to make me look like a dictator while they burn down the country and sabotage us. We're trying to save the kidnapped kids. We are going to go in and we need Pam Bondi. This is open and shut to start indicting these people at accelerated speed. Matt, do you agree with that?
Yes, and this is going to be extremely risky, and that's why the ground has to be prepared. The psychological information war ground, like Michael Yan says, information war is the highest level of war, and that's why your network is called InfoWars. Everything flows downhill from capturing the mind of the people, and if we go in heavy, like it's Baghdad. Mission accomplished, it's going to backfire.
Our medical grade.
Yep. So, what do you think of that? Now, we've seen this going on for months. I mean, years, really. The George Floyd's, the 2021, all that stuff. That when they propped up all this stuff around George Floyd. Said that, the cops killed him. We know that he died from fentanyl, all these different things. And now, no kings and they're burning down all these cities and they're doing all this stuff. And, I haven't seen no autonomous zones yet, but I mean, look what they're doing to Los Angeles. They are just wrecking it, man. On any given day, on any given day right now, Chicago has, 25 shot, 5 dead, like every weekend and every day there's 1 or 2 people killed in Chicago. This is what's going on. And the problem is it's not getting the right attention. Like, I don't know how else to say this except for that, we need all of us. We need to continue to talk about this so it gets to the White House so they know what's going on. Because I'm starting to believe that they have blinders on and they can't see what's going on. I mean, I hate to think that Tom Homan doesn't see what's going on when he's out there picking up all these illegals, but this is serious. And if you think about this other part is the Iran, Israel, Russia, that whole thing that's going on there. If you think about it, if we're busy fighting a civil war on our streets to find some kind of peace on our own streets, we will not be able to see what's coming at us from whether it be China or whoever the aggressor is. They say that Iran can't reach us, but they're already here. That's the thing, right? All the illegals, and those illegals, there's a bunch of those Islamic terrorists that are here as well. So, let me say that to say this. What's going on? Really? Hold on a second. Huh. Have a malfunction going on here. What the hell is it? Why is my shit? Hold on, everybody. My electronic mouse stopped working, so now I have to. Okay. Lost signal. Fuck.
Mr. Netanyahu has long wanted to fight Iran because that way he can stay in office forever and ever. And he's been there most of the last 20 years.
America, this isn't a sideshow. This is the main event, as Israel and Iran lob missiles back and forth, resulting in at least 657 deaths and 2,037 injuries in Iran, while heavily fortified Israel reports 14 deaths and 390 injuries from Iranian actions. The damage already extends to critical infrastructure in Iran, including at least 2 major nuclear installations, among those the main enrichment facility at Natanz.
15 days away from a bomb, but I'm crazy they don't have a bomb. But Israel magically knows they're 15 days away, so who's lying? I don't think Israel's lying. Israel knows they potentially have the bomb. From my intel, they've had the material for a long time. And the CIA came out today and said to Trump at a briefing, if Iran feels pressured for regime change, they'll finish it and use it. People say, well, why did they use it yet? It was for Israel. They're not suicidal yet, but they're cornered. They are. Use logic. Okay? Respond to the facts.
With the potential for global economic disruption if Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, with oil prices and global markets hanging in the balance. Reports suggest that Iran's supreme leader, al-Khamenei, is hiding in an underground bunker in northeastern Tehran. The U.S. and Israel have been discussing the use of massive bunker buster bombs, specifically the 30,000-pound variety, to target heavily fortified sites like the Fordow Uranium Enrichment Facility, which is built into a mountain south of Tehran.
Fordows for enriching uranium. If they're really days away from having a bomb, then they already have the highly enriched uranium they need to build those devices. They're not spinning it in Fordow right now. So bomb the thing, blow it up, don't blow it up. That doesn't end their nuclear program. Their whole program is not in one room sitting under a mountain at Fordow. So, I think the push for that is because we're the only guys that have the ordinance that can do that, and it's a mechanism for trying to suck us into a conflict. That doesn't even end the nuclear program.
Meanwhile, the United States, Russia, and China add to further escalation or the possible outcome of de-escalation. The situation remains fluid as propaganda is unleashed like a rabid dog in the night, while Biden's American sleeper cells wait patiently for the green light.
And they don't have to respond in a way that you are prepared for. They respond playing to their strengths and our weaknesses. That means the Gulf, that means our bases, that means our ships, that means our men and women. It also, by the way, potentially means on U.S. soil. It means wherever they choose using their mechanisms that they have, which will be not conventional military force. They're not standing toe-to-toe with us in the battlefield.
The doomsday clock is being pushed to the brink of midnight.
But it's important to point out why Israel is carrying out all of these horrific crimes, and it's on behalf of the U.S. empire. This is spelled out very clearly in a plan that was published by several U.S. government officials for the Washington, D.C.-based think tank, the Brookings Institution. In 2009, these U.S. government officials, these U.S. imperial planners, published a strategy paper titled Which Path to Persia? Options for a New American Strategy Toward Iran. And chapter 5 is titled Leave It to Bibi, that is Benjamin Netanyahu. So leave it to Netanyahu, allowing or encouraging an Israeli military strike on Iran. And this is what they said, quote, the United States would encourage and perhaps even assist the Israelis in conducting the strikes themselves in the expectation that both international criticism and Iranian retaliation would be deflected away from the United States and on to Israel. Netanyahu is an American. He was raised and educated in the U.S. He went to high school and college and got his first job in the U.S. He had U.S. citizenship twice, and he only gave up his U.S. citizenship in order to be Israel's prime minister. But he is an American, and what he's doing is serving the interests of the U.S. empire.
Exactly. The historical context is crucial. Wolfowitz's 1992 predictions.
These are Arabs, 23 million of the most educated people in the Arab world, who are going to welcome us as liberators.
So I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office that says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. I said 7 countries in 5 years. I said, is that a classified memo? He said, yes, sir. I was so stunned by this, I couldn't begin to talk about it. And I couldn't believe it would really be true, but that's actually what happened. These people took control of the policy in the United States. And I realized then, it came back to me. A 1991 meeting I had with Paul Wolfowitz. You know, in 2001, he was Deputy Secretary of Defense, but in 1991, he was the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. It's the number 3 position in the Pentagon. I said to Paul, I said, and this is 1991, I said, Mr. Secretary, you must be pretty happy with the performance of the troops in Desert Storm. And he said, well, yeah, he said, but not really. He said, because the truth is we should have gotten rid of Saddam Hussein, and we didn't. And this was just after the Shia uprising in March of 91, which we had provoked, and then we kept our troops on the sidelines and didn't intervene. And he said, but one thing we did learn, he said, we learned that we can use our military in the region, in the Middle East, and the Soviets won't stop us. He said, and we've got about 5 or 10 years to clean up those old Soviet client regimes, Syria, Iran, Iraq, before the next great superpower comes on to challenge us. This country was taken over by a group of people with a policy coup. Wolfowitz and Cheney and Rumsfeld, and you could name a half dozen other collaborators from the Project for a New American Century. They wanted us to destabilize the Middle East, turn it upside down, make it under our control. It went back to those comments in 1991. Now, did anybody ever tell you that? Was there a national dialogue on this? Did senators and congressmen stand up and denounce this plan? Was there a full-fledged American debate on it? Absolutely not. And there still isn't.
We have reached the end game. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
All right, here we're back. Yeah, that's computer just crashed. I don't have a backup, so thank you for sticking with me here while I reset the system. Appreciate that. So Israel, Iran, Russia, Ukraine, all of them, right? They're all foreign countries that we have no business being in. But from the sound of that report, Netanyahu is just doing the bidding for the United States. Now, how much do I know about that? Not enough to really get into it. But it sure is interesting how anytime Netanyahu comes to town, you know, he's up there in the White House and he's like some kind of a celebrity. You know, it's very interesting to say the least. For me, I don't know enough about foreign wars and, you know, all that stuff. But what I do see, I don't like any of it. I don't think we should be in any of these foreign wars. I don't think that we should be fighting for Ukraine or any of that. I think that we should be fighting for the United States, America first, right? So anyway, I have one more clip for us here on the way out today. The Russia-Iran-China conflict that we're staring down the barrel of right now. Let's watch this clip. We'll be right back.
Matt, big picture, Putin definitely doesn't see this as strength. We've got Putin sends message to U.S. with record 700 drone and missile attacks overnight. Trump has said basically that, you know, well, the quote is, Putin's now full of BS. And I'm not a Putinite by any stretch of the imagination, but NATO started this long escalation war. Russia's out producing weapons, he said 3-1. the money's not there. So China sees that its weakness. I know China wanted us to go into Iran because it depletes our weapons. They can do the math. They can bean count as good as anybody, maybe better. I mean, America on trade and other issues was starting to win, and the border's getting secured. But suddenly in the last 3 months, I'm seeing Trump take a very dramatic turn on a bunch of issues to very destructive waters. And I would be derelict to my duty as an American citizen, as a father, to not be criticizing it. What is your big picture view of what's happening? You're a smart guy. I mean, what do you think is really going on? A, and then B, how do we get Trump to course correct back? I mean, I think it's by criticizing him. I know these messages get back to him. Well, big picture, and then what do we do?
Well, I think that Israel is trying to suck us into a major war with Iran, for sure. And Israel doesn't care about regime change. I hear that all the time. Israel wants regime annihilation, the way they did in Syria. Israel knows, Netanyahu knows they can't, control who the next leader of.
Well, that's right. As soon as they got rid of Assad, they blew up the whole infrastructure, not his military.
Right. There's no more Syrian Air Force tanks, APCs, runways. They just roam the country. Power
stations, everything.
So it's basically down to, Jolani's now our man, the former ISIS murderer that had a $10 million bounty. So for Israel, this is a good outcome in Syria. It was terrible for the Syrian Alawites and Christians. No matter what Assad was, he was a sectarian leader, not a, ISIS, Takfiri Muslim radical. But what they would like to see in Iran is Iran power plants destroyed, refineries destroyed, Iran then starving, and then fighting among itself. It will no longer be a power in the region if it's reduced to a giant Syria. Now, from the American point of view, our perspective, it would be the worst possible outcome to be forced to put boots on the ground in Iran. We think that Trump believes we can put the end cap on any kind of a confrontation because we have this B-2 bomber that can just, hit any target. But that doesn't end the war. If Iran doesn't want to end the war, just the way that we saw with the Houthis continuing to sink ships in the Red Sea. Iran, people need to keep this in mind. It's almost 3 times as big as Syria.
Well, they're surrounded by mountains. They can also block the Strait of Hormuz. They can block that real quick.
Right. They have their own Samson option, which is block the Strait of Hormuz, and it would affect the entire global economy because the Asian countries get 80% of their fuel from there. But to try to actually, if they just keep firing missiles, let's say that, we're bombing the hell out of Tehran, but that doesn't stop the missiles from flying out of the desert. Then you eventually have to start with special operations troops, then Marines landing on the shores of the Strait of Hormuz to try to attack these anti-ship cruise missiles that are on trucks hidden in caves. People have to think of this. And Trump has made
statements like anything's an option. Well, it's not an option. We couldn't take out Iraq. I've looked at the numbers. You're a Navy SEAL and a historian. Isn't Iran, for an invasion perspective, like 10 times worse than Iraq?
10 times. It's 5 times as big as Germany. It's 5 times as big as Vietnam. It has 90 million people. It has 10 times the population of Israel and like 100 times the land mass. So Israel's only chance fighting Iran is to suck America into it. But it would be 5 times worse than Vietnam. I mean, imagine, just the distance to get there. Once you do an amphibious invasion anywhere in Iran, then you've got to cross 1,000 miles of deserts, across mountains like Arizona, just to even get near Tehran.
Well, that's why even the Romans and people could never take it, because it's a natural fortress.
It is a natural fortress, and they're very smart people. They don't, unlike the Saudis, they don't have to buy their weapons. They never, like the Russians in a sense, they decided not to try to build an aircraft carrier to prove that they can build an aircraft carrier. The Russians concentrated on submarines and missile technology. They're also very good at jet fighters. But the Iranians never did buy the jet fighters. since like the Shah of Iran era, they concentrated on missiles that they can continue to fight even, no matter what the Israelis do, they can keep slugging them with ICBMs. And, another week and Israel would have been, their refineries, their power stations, and most importantly, their reverse osmosis water desalination plants. You hit these and Israel has no fuel, no power, and no drinking water. So Israel's only chance is pulling us into the war. And America can't afford it. It's 5 times bigger than Vietnam, 5 times bigger than Germany. It's almost 3 times as big as Texas. And it's on the other side of the world. And it's not a place where you can invade and then, roll to Baghdad. We know how that worked out. This would be an order of magnitude tougher than the Iraq War. And meanwhile, our own forces are completely depleted since the 1990-91 Desert Storm episode, pushing Saddam out of Kuwait, and then the post 9/11 Operation Iraqi Freedom. We don't even have that force anymore. So to try to get America involved in a land war in Iran, if that's Israel's play, is to get us to be the punisher, I think it's a terrible thing to do because it would just absolutely wreck what is left of America.
Well, anybody that's ever studied battlefields looks at Iran, it looks like a trap for a foreign army.
And it has been through history. Now, the Romans attacked and the Persians were worn down, and then the Muslims did invade and take it over, but it still got the same physical features. And they control the Strait of Hormuz, so they have their own Samson option. If we got to the point where we wrecked their economy, took out their power grid, took out their refineries, you think they're just going to say, hey, go ahead, Saudi Arabia, you'll make even more money selling oil to China now. No, they'll close the Strait of Hormuz, and they can do it easily.
Yeah, so that's the nutshell for you. That's what you're dealing with when you start talking about, because I always hear these people talking about just blow them off the map and all that stuff. And that's what you're going to end up with if we, get into some kind of a ground war with Iran, which makes no sense to me why we would be fighting all the way across the other side of the globe with, and I get that they do the death to America and all that stuff, but they're saying death to America from way the fuck over there. I don't know. Anyway, that's my take on it. I don't know enough about it. I've been kind of digging into it a little bit, quite a bit actually, to see what is going on with all that. And but it sounds pretty spot on, Matt Bracken, and what he's talking about. Because when because Iran, and then you have Russia. Russia's pretty big, and they haven't depleted their stockpile. And then you got China, who's just sitting there waiting for us to deplete all of our armory so they can just attack us, because they're not shooting their weapons. They're giving some off to Iran and Russia, but they're not spending their stuff. They're saving it so they can come in and take over the United States. It's been the plan for years and years and years, and they're talking about it in between 27 and 30. So that's kind of where we're at on that whole thing. And I don't think that we should be getting into a war with Iran right now. I think we should be building our stockpile up so that we can defend our country. But what do I know? I don't, I'm just a conspiracy theorist, right? All right. Hey, thank you for being here tonight. I really do appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel, share this information everywhere. It's open source. It means you can have anything on any of my websites. InspectorWeb.com or Rumble, Getter, X, YouTube now, Inspector Web. Please share this information, cut it up into smaller things. All I ask is that you just add me to your, to your description, Inspector Web, so people can find me. Really do appreciate it. We'll see you next week. I think I'm doing my show next Saturday because we're going to, I got something going on with my family on Friday. So God bless everybody. Everybody stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week. God bless.